Yeah, now that, my friends, is what we call a dominant series victory. How we doing, folks? It's your guy Wardy here, and we're back at it to break down the latest in Mets land in our latest Mets post-game show presented by our amazing sponsors at SeatGeek. Utilize our promo code Wardy10, that way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. Whether it's Mets tickets, as this offense is absolutely rolling right now, NFL tickets, you name it, they have you covered, and Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets, that we will get into later on tonight's show. Folks, I'm Wardy, and I'm amped up to break down this Metropolitan victory. The Mets went into Detroit. They took what was a back and forth of a victory yesterday. The Bats had that never say die mentality. Fast forward a night later, and what do we see? Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, Brett Beatty, Luis Torrens, everybody and your mother was in the hit parade in this one as the Mets out-hit the Tigers 17-8, and they win by a whopping final score here of 12-5. Get those W's spamming the live show right here, right now, everybody. Do not hesitate from hitting that like and subscribe button on your way in, as we have so much to break down in Mets land, and what was nothing short of an absolutely dominant victory here against one of the best teams in baseball, the 80-win Detroit Tigers. And what is not only important is for this to be a series victory, but the Mets did it on the road. A Mets team that's been north of 10 games below 500 with their road record, entering this 10-game gauntlet on the road, facing the Tigers, facing the Reds, and facing the Phillies, and they take down the Tigers big time here that we have to break down. Not only did the Bats come to play today, but Nolan McLean had something to say. Nolan McLean now is the first starter in Major League Baseball since 2014, cue Chase Anderson, for securing 4 consecutive victories to begin his young career. Yeah, I'm gonna go on a limb and say that's kind of a big deal. McLean was utterly dominant after giving up a couple early runs in this ball game that we're gonna break down. He was gorgeous. You guys let me know. Start to marinate in your minds. Well, you would give Nolan McLean's final line here, and what was 6 brilliant innings against this Tigers team, shutting down 14 consecutive batters after giving up early runs. The offense, like I said, had the hit parade going, everybody. You get a hit, you get a hit, you get a hit, and you get a hit. This is the lineup and how the ball game ended. In case you're wondering why is there no Lindor, that's because he was pulled from the ball game early because they didn't need him to play all 9 innings. Why have him in there when you're already up 10-11 runs before the ball game is even over? Another ball game where the Mets forced this time of the Detroit Tigers to throw out a position player there in the 9th inning. That way, we know that the Mets are most certainly going to secure this one. Kevin Herget gave up some runs, but it does not matter, everybody. Spam those W's on your way in. I want to see the hype. I want to see the vibes going. We have so much to break down here in Mets land, and what was nothing short of a dominant series victory for the Mets against the Detroit Tigers. Juan, thank you for the 2.5. I thought Soto was having a bad year. Said absolutely nobody. Only blind schmucks that is the case. Cue the umpire who had a terrible ball call on McLean, which led to runs scored. We'll get into that. Daniel with the 2.5. Where all the Soto haters at? Yeah, it's almost like Juan Soto is exactly as advertised, and we're finally seeing it before our very eyes. Folks, Juan Soto now has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 home runs in his past 5 games. He's on pace for a 40-plus home run, 30-plus stolen bag, 100-plus RBI, 100-plus runs scored season, 100-plus walks scored season. You want to know the last time Juan Soto did such a thing? Never! He's on pace to have a career high in home runs this year. He's well on his way to have well over double his career norm for stolen bags. His previous career high entering this season was 12, but he's got 27 already, including the 27th that he had in this ball game. Jonah with the 2.5. Thank you so much for that, my guy. Dancy Dance, Dancy Dance, Dancy Dance. Indeed, my guy. Juliet, thank you so much as well for being a great member and gifting that membership. We really do appreciate it. Everyone watching live at a replay, hit that like and subscribe button on your way in. Don't hold back from telling me how you're feeling here in Mets land, because we're feeling electric as a Mets fan. We lose to the Marlins, but best the Phils and Tigers. It seems that the Mets play up to their competition and play down them all at the same time. Listen, as frustrating as it is, I'm really happy that the Mets not only went into Detroit, but secured this series victory by just blowing the doors off of them with not 1, but 2 5-run innings. Chris Paddock, more like batting practice, but he still thinks he can best Alonso, going back to when Alonso won that Player of the Month or so there all those years ago. Fast forward all these years later, Chris Paddock is closer to being out of Major League Baseball, while Pete Alonso is well on his way to continue his dominant career. Guys, spam those W's in the live chat as you guys are chiming in live at a replay. We're going to do something different today. This is such a big victory victory, we're not just going to do our usual WardyNYM post-game jingle. We're going to pair that with something that we have not played in a hot minute, but I think it's long overdue that we go ahead and play exactly that. Everybody, dance along, sing along with me. Let's let it rip with the official... Part of the jump scare. Let's let it rip with the official. And again, it's going to be loud in the audio. Get ready for it. Meet the Mets. I think there's no better time than right now to break down the OG song. Then we'll do our jingle, and then we'll break down the ball game, everybody. Shout out to my guy, Ajit. He knows exactly who he is for telling me to play this. Let's do it. Haven't done it in a minute. Let's sing along together, class. Let's do this.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball called the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell! Give 'em a hand! And let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town, of New York town.
That was electric. We love to see it. Now, guys and gals, if you're new to the platform, then you don't know what we're about to do. But if you are, in fact, a recurring viewer, you know exactly what we're about to do. Unlike that song, which was a lot electric, something that we do after every big victory throughout the course of the 162, we got to let it rip, as we always do, with the one, the only, the official WardyNYM Win Edition post-game jingle, baby. Let's do this.
Post game. Post game. Calling all Met fans, come and join us now. Talk about this game and gonna break it down. It's Mets post game.
Shout out to my guys Greg and Jordan, as always, with the WardyNYM post-game jingle. We play that after every big victory throughout the course of the season and postseason. Lobster is an awesome inside joke that if you don't know, I'm sorry to tell you, but listen, it is something that we've been doing on the platform for the past week or so. Just know it's our little rally that we do here, no different than when the Mets had Grimace, they had Rally Pimp, they had the Parakeet, they had the little pony in the clubhouse, you name it, we have our little rally lobster, okay? So that's what we got rocking. Spam those lobster emojis in the live chat right now, everybody. Let's get into this. Shout out Jonah with the $2 holla. Did everyone catch Gary absolutely cook Paddock? Oh, he did cook Paddock. I mean, Mets admin cooked Paddock, as a matter of fact, too. Who didn't cook Chris Paddock? That's a real question today. All Chris didn't do, obviously, was walk a batter. That is what Gary actually referenced as a joke. It was hilarious, folks. But listen, if you're just chiming in, how you doing? My name is Tyler Ward. I cover the Mets every single day here on YouTube to 35,000 strong or close to. Help us get our 35,000 subscribers for our next short-term goal, everybody. We break down everything everything you need to know about the Mets. And we're giving away a jersey to one lucky subscriber once we hit 35K, and we'll be giving that away in a future live show. And guys, it very well could be a Nolan McLean jersey. And after what McLean did today, how do you not want to be a Nolan McLean jersey? Buddy casually goes 6 dominant innings, allows just 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, a 1.37 ERA now to begin his young career, guys. I got so much to say here about Cowboy Ohtani, but let me summarize it for you to each and every one of you. McLean again started this ball game by allowing a couple early runs to happen thanks to some back-to-back walks. The first walk that we saw against McLean should not have happened. One of them, rather, should not have happened. It was a clear straight call inside that was called a ball. Honestly, I think the ump just could not handle how nasty his movement is and couldn't pick up on it. I don't blame him to a degree because McLean is just jaw-dropping. His sinker today, gorgeous. Two-seam, ridiculous. Sweeper, don't even get me started. Everything about Nolan McLean's arsenal has not only major upside, we're talking ace caliber upside. And after McLean began this ball game, mind you, by giving up 2 runs in the first inning, right after Pete Alonso gave the Mets a home run, his 32nd of the year on a 3-0 count with 2 outs, how would McLean bounce back from that early adversity? Far and away the most adversity that McLean has had to begin his young career here, as he's now 3-0 in his first 3 starts. Well, folks, what if I told you that after Nolan McLean got screwed there on a call, gave up a couple runs after some back-to-back contact, he would go on to cruise. He was at 40 pitches through the first 2 innings, and Buddy's out of the ball game in 6 innings on 90 pitches, and the only reason why he did not pitch the 7th inning wasn't because we couldn't see Nolan McLean go back out there, but rather the Mets had a 10-plus run cushion, and they're like, why throw him out there to that instance? There's no need to do it. McLean, guys, goes 6 brilliant innings. He retires the final 14 batters that he sees in this one. We're going to start by talking about McLean, then we'll get on to the offense because the offense was the major story today. But Nolan had that sinker working 30% of the time. It was gorgeous. Topped out 97, sat 94 there, and sat right around 2,200 on the spin rate. This sweeper had 26% of his arsenal, topped out 89, sat right around 85, and also was right around 3,000 on the spin rate. Kind of a big deal. This sweeper's disgusting. The 4-seam fastball, 19% of the time for McLean. Topped out what we saw right around 98 miles per hour, sat 96, and the RPM spin rate was right around 2,300. The curveball at 12% of the arsenal, topped out 81, sat 80, was right around 32 to 3,300 on the spin rate. Ridiculous. The changeup, 8% of the arsenal, topped out 87, sat right around 86. He was gorgeous, right around 1,700 on the RPMs. And the cutter that he threw just a couple times, topped out 91, sat right around 90, and he now is at right around 2,600 for the spin rate. Kind of a big deal if you ask me, folks. So we're going to break down McLean and how he dominated these batters inning by inning here in just a second. But to give you guys a nice grade for Nolan McLean, he undoubtedly, without question, gets a rock solid 7.5 out of 10 from your guy Wardy. McLean could have went 7 innings. I think he would have done it smoothly as well if he actually found himself in that category. And Nolan showed exactly how this man can face early adversity against one of the best teams, not only in the American League, but one of the best teams in all of baseball, that being in the Detroit Tigers, and handle them without a problem in Detroit and their home park like it was another day on the block. Nolan McLean, I love you. I cannot wait to see more of you. It was McLean Day, and he most certainly stepped up. You guys let me know what would your grade be of a final line grade for Nolan McLean on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody. Like I said, I'm going 7.5 because I know he could be even better, which is really exciting to say. If you guys agree or disagree with my grade, please let me know in the live show. Thank you so much for that. Thank you also, Nick with the $10 holla. This is their 7th 10-plus game, 10-plus run game since August 1st. Mets offense doing everything they can to carry this team in the postseason. They are doing everything and then some, my guy. Listen, the pitching has not been there. It is time that we need to rely at least a little bit more than just the starters, and the bats are coming to play. The Mets had their best statistical offensive month in franchise history in August and still managed to go 11-17 with their record. Now in the month of September, they're trying to rewrite that story. They're 2-0 here in September. Let's make it 3-0 with a huge day game series finale tomorrow there between the Mets and the Tigers. They got to secure that sweep. If they can make that happen, oh my goodness gracious. I'm not expecting it, but I'm really hoping for it with the way that the bats have continued to step up, guys. So let me know your Nolan McLean grades in here. Thank you so much for exactly that. We're going to break down more on McLean, everything you need to know about his gorgeous outing, this offense, and everything in between. But folks, let's hear just a quick word from our amazing sponsor in the platform, that be not Mumu, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. Folks, have you been seeing that big orange bowl that's making Mondays at Citi Field way more exciting? I'm talking about our amazing sponsor on the platform at Mumu. As the #1 Mets channel on YouTube, I absolutely love to break down stats, analysis, really getting into the nitty-gritty and numbers, and that is why I love so much Mumu, because they do exactly that with that same analytical approach when it comes to investing. It's a trading platform with professional grade tools and premium research that other companies usually charge a pretty hefty price for, all come for free when you sign up as a customer with Mumu. But folks, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And thanks to Mumu's partnership with our beloved New York Metropolitans, all Mumu customers can get free tickets to any and every Mets home game on a Monday throughout the course of the season. That's right, folks. Free baseball all season long for the greatest fan base in sports. Not to mention Mumu Millions. If the Mets pull off 100 wins this season, one lucky Mumu customer is going to come out winning $1 million. And what's nuts about this is that Mumu has already given away $10,000 when the Mets hit first 25 wins this season, as well as $20,000 when they hit the 50-win mark. And when the Mets inevitably hit 75 wins, they're giving away $30,000. But as much as they love baseball, Mumu's #1 priority is jump-starting your investing journey, which is why they're giving the WardyNYM community up to $1,000 in NVIDIA stock just for making a qualified deposit and becoming a Mumu customer. So folks, what are you waiting for? Head to start.mumu.com/Wardy, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to join the Mumu community. Now, let's get back to our Mets. All right, guys, first and foremost, I know the Mets can't get to 100 wins at this point. I recorded that with my great friends at Mumu when it was still a possibility. That's okay, though. We're not going to focus as much on the 100 wins as we're going to focus on all the great offers that they have that you guys can click in the link down below in the description. Thank you guys kindly for that. But I don't want to waste any more time. We got Mets ball game to break down. Shout out to everyone being in here. I really do appreciate you. Dan Dodillo, great member as always. Juliet, great member. Rebecca, great member. PB9, great member and friend on the platform. How we doing going up the list here? Juliet, great member. Going up here even more. We got all you guys. Thank you so much. Michael Stroh, great member. Jojo, great member. How are you? Juan, as always, great member, moderator. Steven, great member. How we doing, my guy? We got B6, great member in the chat. We got MacDog, great member. All you guys. Rebecca, we got Robert, longtime follower here. I know Dave Kaplitz is in here somewhere. There he is. How we doing, Dave? Thank you so much for chiming in as always, baby. We got Chad, great member in here. We got all you guys chiming in live and replay. If I miss anyone's comments, please know it's not personal. I'm just trying to get to as many as I possibly can. We got Always Gonna Eat, great member as well. Thank you so much for being in here. And he got gifted with the membership, which is electric. Jonah Wood, another $2 holla. McLean shutting down, and the offense has been elite. Shutting down elite offenses. What a study. He has been shutting down elite offenses. It's kind of a big deal. Just so they were seeing on the broadcast with Gary, Keith, and Ron, how impressive it was for the Mets offense to get shut down by San Diego Contra at Citi Field when they've been surging hot otherwise. The same way that was so impressive that we saw Nolan McLean go out, Cowboy Ohtani, and dominate this Tigers lineup. But what if I told you that Nolan McLean wasn't even the biggest storyline of today's ball game? Because he most certainly wasn't. It comes down to this Mets offense. Like I mentioned, you know how the Mets are batting right around 370 with runners in scoring position since the start of August or so? Kind of a big deal. Well, guys, they're still raking. They're still doing amazing things. The Mets finished today 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position. They left 7 on base. And contrary to what has been our biggest gripe with them all season long, and Moonshadow, thank you so much for being here. Great member as always, my guy. Appreciate you. Contrary to the Mets not being able to hit a lick at all with the runners in scoring position, what felt like all season long, the Mets are finally getting that production, and it could not come at a more important time. And one thing that's been a focal point behind the Mets' success with their offense has been their hunting of fastballs. As we're going to break down, the Mets had not one, but 2 5-run innings in this ball game. In the first inning that they had 5 runs in, that being the fourth, every single piece of baseball that they hit for contact was thanks to a 4-seam fastball. So listen, it's working right now. The same way that the Tigers entered today with the 6th ranked OPS in baseball when facing fastballs, but 24th there when facing breaking balls, is kind of in similarity to what the Mets are doing now. They have a heavy emphasis on that fastball first mentality. Yes, they're still hitting breaking and off-speed pitches, but knowing that you're going to see fastballs more than any other pitch, it kind of makes sense that the Mets are like, listen, let's just gear back, say heater, and see what happens. That's what Alonso always does for his approach, so it's not shocking to see Pete today go out with not one, but 2 big bombs there to increase the Mets' lead on in this this ball game. But like I said, the Mets did so much good on the offensive end in this one. They have been absolutely rolling. And now let's get into what made them so brilliant in this victory over the Tigers today, including Luis Torrens, who's quietly playing amazing baseball for this Mets team as Francisco Alvarez works his way back from injury still. I mean, it's actually insane how good Torrens has been. Torrens has 5 home runs this season, guys. 3 of them over his past 7 games or so. That's a massive deal. But he's batting north of 500 over this stretch of games right now. He is, I believe, 9 for 21 or 22 right now over his past stretch. It's literally ridiculous what he's been able to do over his past 7 games. And then you not only look at him, you look at McNeil, who after not hitting a baseball for 3 consecutive ball games has been surging hot yet again. Brett Beatty's always finding his ways to find himself in the key offensive production. Juan Soto is on pace for 40 plus home runs, 30 plus stolen bags, 100 plus RBIs, 100 plus walks. Buddy's going to have literally one of his best seasons, if not his best offensive season of his career in year 1 with the New York Mets. Kind of a big deal if you ask me, considering we signed this guy to $765 million, right? So everything's clicking. All the Mets need now is some stability with their rotation. We know this very well, folks, so hit that like and subscribe button on your way and help us get a 300 plus likes to our live and recurring viewers. It really does mean a lot. We're going to break it down, and I'm not going to waste any more time. Let me just answer this comment, and then we're going to let it rip. Nicholas with a $2 holla. Sorry I'm late, but let's go. Mets, we're booming. We are booming, baby. And the same way we're booming is the same way that I hope we're brooming tomorrow with a big series sweep. I want nothing more than to hop back on this platform tomorrow and to do my little sweep act like I'm sweeping things around to have the Mets secure a series sweep. That's what we're going to hope for next. Until then, let's appreciate what was an absolutely dominant series victory. And as I mentioned, Alonso got in on a hit parade early in this one. After Lindor and Soto went down to begin this ball game, Alonso said, "It's my turn, baby, ding dong," and he sat on a here 3-0. I love the fact that he got green light on the 3-0 one way or the other, everybody. We saw that, and it was electric. His 32nd home run of the year there by Alonso gave the Mets the early 1-0 lead, but that would change because we would see with 2 outs, Nolan McLean give up back-to-back walks, one to Kerry Carpenter and one to Riley Green. One of those walks should not have happened. He got absolutely screwed by the umpire, and it came back to bite him in the ass. Why? Because Spencer Torkelson gets an RBI single. Then we see it's 2-1 right away for Detroit as Perez would poke himself a single as well. Here comes in the other runner to score, and that's that. So in the snap of a finger, Nolan McLean is working down for the first time in what feels like forever, and McLean is having to face that early adversity. How would Nolan handle that adversity? Well, as you already know, he would go on a cruise, because as we continue on, the Mets do nothing in the third, the second, nor do the Tigers, as we would see Zach McKinstry was caught trying to steal second base. Shout out to Luis Torrens with the cannon there that we saw. Dingler with a single. What a name by Dingler. That's all she wrote, though, for the inning. Then we see with this Mets offense, they do nothing in 1-2-3. So do the Tigers in the third. 1-2-3. Thanks to Nolan McLean working beautifully. In the fourth, Juan Soto gets on with a leadoff walk, and then he steals his 27th bag of the year. Guys, that stolen bag by Juan Soto was vital, because that is what got the party started for the Mets with their offense today outside of Alonso. Because then WardyNYM gets on with a 1-out single. Vientos then gets on with a walk. It's bases loaded that we see for Jeff McNeil. What is McNeil going to do? He's going to hit. Jeff McHits, as I love to call him when he does things like this, ties the ball game 2-2 just like that with a single pull to the right side. And then Cedric Mullins says, "Let's get the lead, baby." Mullins, even though he hasn't had much with a hit parade going lately, he most certainly has had things going that we have seen there with at least solid at-bats. And he would rip himself a sac fly to give the Mets that early 3-2 lead in this ball game. Luis Torrens sees multiple runners on base, and he says, "Let's go ahead and do something fantastic." Torrens rips one. It's a liner. It's far. Is it fair? And it hits the pole. It's out of here. His 5th home run this season there for Luis Torrens gives the Mets a 6-2 lead. Just a couple innings in this ball game. The Mets are up now with a 5-run 4th inning, and they would not stop from there. Beatty would get on with a single right away, because of course he does. Then he steals his 8th bag of the year. Lindor would strike out Sweeney, but not before the Mets put up a 5-piece there on the Detroit Tigers in the 4th inning. McLean casually cruises in a 1-2 2, 3, bottom of the 4th. As we get to the 5th, WardyNYM gets on with a single, but that's all she wrote. In the bottom of the 5th, Nolan McLean, what does he do? He strikes out the side like the bulldog that he is. First, he strikes out Dingler, and how does he strike out Dylan Dingler? What a name. He gets him with the sinker down and in. Gorgeous on 95. Like, there's no way you can hit this pitch, seriously. Then Trey Sweeney strikes out on the curveball right down the pipe, gets his ass. Then we get Cole Keith. How does Cole Keith strike out, folks? Cole Keith strikes out by getting that Sweeney striking that sinker down and away. He stood no chance. It was gorgeous. And these pitches were so nasty that if you guys listened to the Detroit Tigers booth today, they were in awe. They had no clue at what McLean was throwing. They were just saying to themselves, oh my God, McLean's disgusting pretty much. And great news, everybody. The Mets are officially 5 games up on the Cincinnati Reds as the Mets drop to the Toronto Blue Jays in what was a bloodbath of an offensive showing and a pitching disaster class. I believe the Jays went on to win by a final score of 11-8 or so. Either way now, folks, given the fact that the Reds officially lost, let's see if it's live update yet. If not, no worries. We're going to take a look here. Yes, the Mets are now officially back to being 5 games up in that third wild card spot. Obviously, the Mets are a ways away behind the Philadelphia Phillies, so what we're focusing on now is just solely what the Mets can control. What they can control is obviously the games they continue to win and try to make sure that they don't go anywhere outside of at minimum that third wild card spot. Cincinnati, who the Mets will be facing in Cincy this weekend, may very well be their biggest series yet, as the Reds are in dire need of trying to win ball games, trying to stay in the playoff hunt, and the Mets may very well be able to put the final nails in the coffin, and they can secure 2 out of 3 this weekend, as Jonathan will be towing the rubber this Saturday. But then as we get to Sunday and Friday, there's question marks, folks, and those question marks mean that they need to be filled by one Brandon Sproat. We're going to talk a lot more about that in tomorrow's content, so be on the lookout for it. 21, thank you so much for the 10 aha, my guy LFGM, great as always. Rory, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let's get some love and hype in the chat with my guy here with the $10 holla. That really does mean a lot, brother. Really do. Thank you so much. That's all I got to say. As we continue on from here, guys, as the Mets win in a fantastic fashion, 12-5 is your final. We get to the 6th inning where Jeff McHitz leads things off with a single, because of course he does. Then we would see Luis Torrens would reach on a fielder's choice upon review, would be overturned. Then we see McNeil and Torrens pull off the double steal. Jeff's at third safely. Torrens is at second safely. Mind you, this is the first stolen bag Luis Torrens has ever had in his career. Things you love to see. Loving me some Louis Torrens right now. As we get to the bottom of the 6th, because the Mets don't do anything else there, it's another 1-2-3 for Nolan McLean. As we mentioned, that's it for his final line. He goes 6 brilliant innings of work, 2 earned runs allowed, 3 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, retires the final 14 batters that he faces. Now it's down to a 1.37 ERA. Is 4-0 to begin his career, the first starter again since 2014, Chase Anderson, to do such a thing, to have 4 consecutive victories to begin their young career as a starter. And Kevin Herget was batting practice in the 9th inning, but it does not matter. Herget was in here just the innings for us and nothing more. That's why he will be parted with as soon as tomorrow. He enters the same fold as guys that we have seen like Chris Davinsky, like Jose Castillo, and Brandon Waddell. Just the daily call-ups that the Mets are doing for a guy that can eat innings in this bullpen, especially when the Mets blow the doors off a team as great and as early as they did here against the Tigers that we saw in Game 2 of this 3-game set. As we get set for the 7th inning, guys, Juan Soto was more set than anyone else. Juan blasts one. It's high, it's far, and it's out of here. His 37th home run of the year there from Juan Soto gives the Mets an increased lead of 7-2 in this ball game. Soto, as I mentioned, is not only in a groove right now, but he's looking more and more like the menacing Juan Soto that the Mets signed this past offseason with each passing day. Soto makes it 7-2 Mets, and the Polar Bear says, let's make it 8-2 Mets, baby, as Alonso would blast his 2nd home run of the day, his 22nd multi-game home run of his career, the most in Mets team franchise history, surpassing what has been in the case of Doc and Darryl Strawberry, if I'm not mistaken. I said Doc because I always pair Doc Gooden and Strawberry together. They're like 2 peas in the pod, but you guys know what I'm trying to say here. Alonso's 33rd bomb of the year puts the Mets up 8-2, a 6-run lead in this ball game, and it would continue because afterwards, Nimmo gets on with a single. Vientos would hit himself his 19th double of the year, which was a completely drop ball. It was a high fly ball because Chris Paddock is serving up batting practice, but he's horrendous. Does have a put-out pitch if it smacked him across the face. Vientos goes opposite field here, and it's dropped. The ball's dropped there by Kerry Carpenter. And because of that reason, that puts a runner at second and third here for what do we see? Luis Angel Acuna comes in a pinch run for Vientos, and Jeff McNeil says, I didn't hear no bell, baby. He would smoke another single to drive in a couple runs. It's 10-2 Mets. The floodgates are open. The Mets are going to go on and win this ball game. Terrence then gets on with a single because of course he does. 2 outs, not a problem. Brett Beatty with a single himself makes it 11-2 Mets in this one, and that was only with 1 out, mind you. Lindor with a sac fly makes it a 12-2 ball game, and then we see Juan Soto get on with a single. Here comes Tommy Kahnle after Chris Paddock did what? Chris Paddock in his how many innings? 1.1 innings, gave up 8 hits, 6 earned runs, no walks, 1 strikeout. Now is a 5.370 around the year. Thank you, Chris Paddock, for being as dog water of a pitcher as you continue to be in your career since your ailments have clearly derailed you. And I will no remorse whatsoever because F. Chris Paddock goes back to his days with the Padres. If you know, you know. We stand on business here. Screw Chris Paddock. We see Pete Alonso ground out, and that does it there for the inning, folks, but not before the Mets put up their second 5-run inning of the ball game. A 10-run lead as we have the bottom of the 7th. And in the bottom of the 7th, we would see a scroll sitting there for Kevin Herget. And the 8th inning, we see Acuna get on there with a single in the infield. That's all she wrote, though. In the bottom of the 8th, Dingler with a walk. Then we see, again, a scroll sitting still for Mr. Kevin Herget. And Jared Young came in the ballgame at this point to handle first base. Young, who was called up by the Mets today, that we will expand on more further. He is the corresponding move as Tyrone Taylor, we know, is dealing with that hamstring injury. In the 9th inning, guys, the Mets get a single from Brett Beatty. That's all she wrote. In the bottom of the 9th, Jahmai Jones gets on with a walk. Then we see Henry Malloy with his double makes it 12-3. A wild pitch puts a runner in scoring position at third. Perez makes it 12-4 with a ground rule double. Then Zach McKinstry makes it 12-5. Here comes Ryan Stanek. He gives up a single right away to Dingler, but that's all she wrote. The Mets go on to win this one fairly comfortably by a final score 12-5. Would have loved it, obviously, if it was 12-2 to end the ball game, but beggars can't be choosers here. We have been dying. We have been begging for a series win on the road the way the Mets finally gave us. Listen, the Mets, if we exclude what has been happening here, if we can exclude what has happened in the case of the Marlins beating the Mets in 3 out of 4, it's impossible to exclude it. It still bothers us. But in 2 of the past 3 Mets series, they've had far and away their biggest series victories of the year. If we go back to even the Mariners, even though that they weren't playing great baseball then, the Mets have won series against the Mariners, the Phillies, the Tigers this year, the Blue Jays, obviously, when they were good. We look at, they split it with the Dodgers in LA, even with the Dodgers' ailments. We know the Mets can go toe-to-toe with them. They got curb stomped by the Padres. We're aware of that, and that is a problem. But the Mets have played up to a lot of their competition this season. For whatever reason, they play down to them as well. And because they play down to them as well is exactly why we've been so frustrated as the Mets just cannot secure consecutive series victories to save their life. However, if they can get the sweep tomorrow, that would be electric. If they can then secure the series victories, what it would take there at their next series and what's going to be a gauntlet of a matchup, because who do the Mets have next after the Detroit Tigers? The Mets have next starting this weekend, folks. They have, yes, the Cincinnati Reds and Cincy. The same Reds that are trailing the Mets by 5 full games for that final wildcard spot. The Reds will be out for blood, and the Mets will be out to put the final nails in the coffin against that Red squad. As we continue on this, everybody, let's get into the hitting numbers because the boys came to play. Like I said, the Mets had 17 hits to 8 of the Detroit Tigers. The Mets had an expected batting average today, that being, let's go ahead and double check right here, of 382. The Mets had an almost 400 expected batting average today. Are you kidding me? We saw the Detroit Tigers with 256 in comparison. Through the lineup as follows. Lindor went 0 for 4 today with an RBI sac fly, a 265 average, a 787 OPS. Mauricio went 0 for 1, a 231 average, a 675 OPS. Ronnie will inevitably be sent down by this Mets team more than likely. Just a matter of when, not if it'll happen this week. Juan Soto, 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored and the home run. His 37th of the year there, baby. 259 average and 923 OPS. Alonso with not 1 but 2 ding-dongs on the day. Polar Bear Pete's up to 268 on the average, 867 on the OPS. Jared Young, 0 for 171 average, 637 OPS. Brandon Nimmo, a 3-hit game for Himo. 2 runs scored, a 267 average and a 790 OPS. Vientos with a double, a runs scored and a walk, a 242 average, 730 OPS. We see Luis Angel Acuna 1 for 1 with the runs scored. Welcome back, Acuna. 242 average, 583 OPS. McHits was dominant today. My God, has Jeff McNeil been playing great baseball. Again, simplifying it, just getting the job done casually every time out there. He got the start at DH today. If I'm not mistaken, that is his 9th start of the year at DH. 5th most that we have seen from Mets starters at the DH position this year. But it's been a rare occurrence, obviously, when you see Jeff outside of an infield or outfield position. McNeil, 264 average, 809 OPS with a 3 RBI day. Mullins 0 for 4 with the runs scored and the sac fly, a 221 average, 707 OPS. Torrens cannot stop hitting right now. Big game, 2 hits, 3-run ding-dong opposite field, 2 runs scored, 229 average, 645 OPS, and Brett the Hitman, Brett Beatty, with a 3-hit day. Love me some 3 hits from Brett Beatty, batting the 9th spot at second base with an RBI, 254 average, 746 on the OPS. The bats came to play, everybody, and my God, can I get used to that. This isn't a continuation of what they've been doing, feels like north of a month now. This is not just something that the Mets just started or the past couple of days. No, they have been consistently putting out great offense, but the pitching has not been there. I don't even want to bother getting the numbers on the amount of games the Mets have lost this year, one having a multi-run lead or at least having themselves, I don't know, we're looking at least 4 or 5 runs scored, but the past is the past, the present is the now, and the future begins tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in this series finale, but what we do know is that the Mets secured a absolutely vital series victory against the Detroit Tigers, one of the better ones in baseball. And yes, as Big is saying in the chat, so nice that they get to avoid Skubal. You're 1,000% right. The Mets had to face Tarek Skubal in this series. I have no clue how it would go, but thankfully they don't have to. Instead, the Mets have the series finale tomorrow, in which you're going to see Mr. Casey Mize, who's been having a solid year, just under a 4 ERA, facing off against Clay Holmes in Clay's 3.6 ERA. Clay Holmes has been solid this year, but the main problem with Clay is how much he's been a 5-and-die pitcher. I fully expect the Tigers to be out guns a-blazing early against this Mets team in the day game. The Mets tend to roll over and die in a lot of day game series finales this year. I hope that isn't the case tomorrow. All I'm telling you guys is that if it happens, don't be overly shocked. I don't think it's the end of the world if it happens. Remember, series victories are mightily important. You want to win every game. I get that, but at minimum, you got to secure these series, and the Mets are finally starting to do that on the road especially, and it could not come at a more important time for this Mets team. As we continue on from here, everybody, let's get into some fun numbers if I didn't relay them already. Luis Torrens has been an absolute animal, as we have mentioned now. We also have to get into the fact that Nolan McLean, again, gorgeous. What we love so much about Nolan McLean is how much he was able to handle that adversity after those early walks there by the Detroit Tigers, leading to runs scored. You know how many pitchers in this Mets staff would roll over and be out of this ballgame in 3 innings because they could not handle the early pressure? Nolan McLean's far from them. McLean could have handled, again, that 7th inning, as we mentioned. And that's why it's so damn exciting to see McLean go out and cruise and dominate and shut down these Tigers batters. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, not 10, not 11, not 12, not 13, but a whopping 14 consecutive batters shut down by this Mets offense. You cannot ask for anything better. And it doesn't just stop there in the case of McLean, as we have some other fun numbers I want to relay to each and every one of you guys, and that is the following. Nolan McLean's numbers today was great. Let's talk about Nolan McLean's season thus far. In 26.1 innings, it's fitting considering he's number 26, 13 hits allowed, 7 walks, 27 strikeouts in the 26.1 innings, and yes, get ready for this, just 4 earned runs allowed. Nolan McLean is averaging 1 earned run allowed every start to begin his young career. It really does not get any better than this. The guy looks as ace caliber as ever. His stuff is ridiculous. I can't get over how that sinker looked today. The movement was jaw-droppingly good. And to go back to it just for a second, because I can't get over it, not only was the sinker ridiculous, I loved how the changeup looked, even though he didn't throw it a whole lot today, and that sweeper. That sinker-sweeper combo for your 1-2 punch. Well, we know there's one thing about this Mets pitching lab that we know very well. They love the guys with the 4 S's, right? The quad S's, as I love to call them. Sinkers, sweepers, sliders, splitters. If you have 2, 3, or 4 of those pitches, you are destined to do great things in this Mets rotation or their bullpen. Nolan McLean came to play today, everybody, and that's all I got to say about that. But not only did McLean come to play, So did this Mets team. And now that the Mets have set themselves up 11 games above 500 at the time of us talking right now, at a 75-64 record or so, they control their destiny. And as we know, they have the Reds, they have the Phillies in that 4-game gauntlet, in which I will be in attendance for one of those ball games, so we will see how that goes. The Mets have a lot of things clicking on all cylinders right now, but they also have a gauntlet right now of a road trip. That is why the series victory was important, but they have to continue to put pedal to the metal here. They have to, because if they don't, they're going to quickly find themselves again only within a couple games of the Cincinnati Reds. And then you have the Reds this weekend. Last thing you ever want is to put yourself in a position where the Reds come in and take 2 out of 3 against this Mets team in Cincy. We have to make sure that we control our destiny, that being the Mets, but just going out and taking this game by game, day by day. It's the best way to secure, in my opinion, what will be some big victories. And the fun stats don't just stop there, because another thing that I want to mention is the following. The Mets base running has been amazing this year. It's been in large part because of Antoine Richardson. Juan Soto has credited Antoine for his great success this year. For those that don't know, Antoine Richardson is the Mets' first base coach, and he has been brilliant in helping the Mets get a proper jump at first this year. And just listen to the following statistic. Opponent's stolen base percentage against the Mets this year is 67%. That is second lowest in baseball. So the Mets have been amazing this year on not only limiting base runners, but throwing out runners at second base. Culis Terens, and when he was here not injured, Francisco Alvarez to a degree. Hayden Sanger fell in that category too. Sanger's a dog defensively. But the Mets stolen base percentage this year, everybody, is at a whopping 90%. A Mets team that entered this season with a below average speed as a collective group of a team are the best base running team in baseball. There is no team in baseball that has a higher base running stolen bag percentage this season than the New York Mets. Like, just take a moment to process that on how contrary that has been from years past. What is one of the few things that we have griped about with this Mets offense over the years under Cohen, with the exception of hitting with runners in scoring position? It's been to have proper base running. Base running has been the demise of this Mets team in more ways than one that we have seen over the years. Bad fundamentals, terrible jumps, you name it, just not looking good. And when you look top to bottom in this Mets lineup right now, you don't say to yourself, oh my God, they're so overwhelming with their speed, but it's a situational base running. It's why a guy like Pete Alonso, for example, doesn't steal bags much, but when he does, he's brilliant. Alonso doesn't get caught stealing much at all because he knows exactly when he's going to jump. It's very few and far in between as to when he does it, but when he does do it, he's usually on a great success rate. That has been basically that same philosophy, but added to this entire Mets offense throughout the course of the 162. Their base running has been brilliant, and hopefully that can continue for them, because that's the kind of X factor that can really make a difference when you're trying to win these tight ball games against good teams that ultimately make postseason play and do something along with it. Not only are you going to get a guy with Juan Soto to get well over 30 stolen bags this season when he's never done anything close to that in his career, but you're getting a Mets team that's building now an identity. Finally, something I can say that I've been beating this drum for so long. If you guys have been following the platform, then you know my big gripe with the Mets this year on their offense and this collective team has been as follows. They've had no identity. They've had zero identity whatsoever. I have no clue how to read this team and exactly who they are as a collective group. Well, folks, it appears that we have now found that identity. And I'm not seeing that this identity is the Mets offense at its peak right now, because it's not. Every team is going to go through peaks and valleys in the normal 162. I can't bank on this Mets offense to give us 8+ runs every single night. It's great. They've been doing it at a nightly basis for what feels like the past couple weeks, but that is not going to happen every single night. So what can I say? This team's identity is finally starting to show. It's an identity of a team that's playing loose. They're playing fun, and they're having not necessarily that never say die mentality, but that relentless mentality. They're going to beat you up in bunches, and they're really thriving on the fact that, as Juan Soto stated himself in the media over the past day, that when the Mets see runners in scoring position, they're going bananas. That is literally his quote. They're getting giddy. They're going bananas. Cue Donkey Kong, because they just want to go get those bananas, that being runs scored to drive in those damn runs. As I mentioned, this Mets team with runners in scoring position has been so unbelievably night and day from what they were for the vast majority of the year. As someone who's called them out endlessly all season long, game by game, day by day, night by night, whatever thing that's went wrong with this Mets team this year, I'm so happy to tell you on how much they've shut me up, but how much they're finally showing their worth and showing their ability, and what's a great collective group of 1 through 9. When you really take a moment to think about this Mets offense, think about the depth that they currently have, and you say to yourself, this is easily one of the better lineups in all of baseball. Like, when they're actually clicking the way that they're supposed to, they're doing great things. Lindor usually in leadoff, Soto, Alonso, even though we had Jared Young come in at the end of this ball game, Brandon Nimmo, you're going to have, obviously, Mark Vientos, Jeff McNeil, Cedric Mullins, Francisco Alvarez, as Alvarez looks solid today as rehab for Syracuse. We're going to break that down in greater length in our content that will be dropping tomorrow. Be on the lookout for it, everybody. I know the Mets have a day game tomorrow, but I don't care. We still have to drop that video. I think it's very important. We have a lot of big updates to get into. I meant to drop one today, didn't get a chance to, but that's okay because those things age so fast, and we actually found out clarity on 2 players today that we otherwise didn't know a day or so ago, and one of them has to do with Jesse Winker, and what is not good news for Jesse, but it's still overall good news for the Mets in the sense of getting reinforcements back sooner rather than later. And yes, I did see what Drew Gilbert has been doing. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And in case you want to know why, it's because 1, it's an incredibly small sample size. 2, I like Tyler Rogers. And 3, the Mets of Carson Benj. Drew Gilbert was never going to have a clear path to this Mets team at all in the outfield as long as Carson Benj was in this Mets organization. So before any of you guys get on your high horse and say, look at what Drew Gilbert's doing, he's heading so well over the past couple games. Mind you, he's doing against teams like the Rockies and Colorado, but let's go ahead and inflate those numbers, why don't we? I'm wishing Drew all the best, but no, I cannot give a rat's you know what on what he does or doesn't do for the San Francisco Giants. And you want to know why? It's because he's not a New York Met anymore. I don't care about guys that aren't on the New York Mets because they don't impact my life on the daily. This Mets team impacts my life on the daily. And Tyler Rogers impacts my life on the daily when he's out pitching. And Rogers has not been brilliant, but he has been solid. And he had himself a scroll inning yesterday, and I hope to see more of that from him. I love the submariner. I've loved him his whole career. I just want him to do well for the Mets down the stretch heading into postseason play so the Mets can justifiably bring him back for 2026. If there's one reliever that I want the Mets to bring back next year, it's Tyler Rogers in that group of himself, Helsley, and Soto. I like Gregory Soto a lot, and I think you should bring him back as well, but I'm also not going to think it's the end of the world if they don't either. Rogers is a guy I really want back if he can just perform to his caliber. And yes, Jersey, you're 100% right. Just fans having PTSD over PCA. Listen, the Mets have an act for trading away top outfield prospects. They did it with Jared Kelenic. He's looking like a full-time minor league player, nothing more, nothing less. That has a lot to do with the Mariners rushing him up early in his career, hurting his development by giving him, great flashes of brilliance, and then having very low lows in Seattle, not properly managing it. When we look at PCA, Pete Armstrong should have never been traded by this Mets team, but we have Zach Scott, who was not a GM for more than just a handful of months in this organization, to be the reason as to why that happened. So blame him. You have no one else to blame but him. We weren't upset with that trade too much at the time as we are now, as PCA is one of the best outfielders in all of baseball. Feels that way, at least. Then you look at Drew Gilbert. Again, there's a lot of qualities of Drew Gilbert's game that aren't terrible, but at the same time, he's not a plus defender. He's a smaller statured outfielder that is likely not going to profile unbelievably well with the Mets line that has a Carson Benj, who is a far better, more well-rounded outfield prospect. This is nothing personal on Gilbert. Carson Benj is him. He's unbelievably him. He's unequivocally him. And I cannot wait to break down Carson Benj in our latest prospect report and tell you guys how giddy I am about him competing for that center field roster spot, barring changes and what the Mets may do this offseason there for spring training of 2026. Benj is the future. He is the truth. Do not write him off. It's easy to do it when I know you get fixated on other prospects, but he's electric. Just do not forget that is what I have to say about that. And listen, Benj's struggles in AAA right now has a lot to do with the fact that he just came off of being on the injured list for just over a week or so. So it's not shocking that he's getting himself a little, of a adjustment after handling an injury that he otherwise didn't really handle at all this season. So that is what I have to say about that. As we continue on, everybody, I got a lot more to break down in Mets land. And I know you guys got comments, questions, and concerns for your guy Wardy. So let's open up the floodgates to everyone watching live, the 500 plus of you guys. Thank you so much again for hitting that Mets like and subscribe on your way in. Maya, I know Jet Williams is electric, but I have a bridge to sell you if you think confidently that Jet Williams will be the Mets 2026 opening day center fielder. Carson Benj, it's his job to lose between him and Jet every day of the week. Benj is a better outfield option than Jet Williams through and through. I like Jet a lot, but he's going to profile better in the infield. And because of that reason, I don't know where exactly he falls in the Mets' future plans. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Mets go about Jet Williams heading into next season. But guys, I want to answer whatever comments, questions, and concerns you guys got for me in the live show right now to all of our amazing members, subscribers, recurring subscribers, new subscribers, you name it. But everyone watching and replay, this is where I will be cutting things off. So let me leave you with the following. The Mets took this huge Game 2 victory by a final score 12-5. My question to all of our replay viewers is, let me get your final score predictions for the series finale, mañana, tomorrow, day game. Let's see in the comments down below. Spam in the comments. If you guys watching live right now want to spam them as well, that's fine. But I just want a nice little thing to say to our replay viewers before we cut things off. To everyone watching live, let's continue on our discussion. To everyone watching on replay, this is where we'll be cutting things off.